Imagine working day in and day out, giving your best only to be humiliated by the very person who's supposed to lead you. What would you do when that same person who tries to tear you down turns out to be nothing compared to who you really are? Stay tuned, because what happens next will shock you. This isn't just a story about racism, it's about power, revenge, and what happens when you refuse to be underestimated. Meet Jasmine, a woman with ambition, skill, and a drive to succeed. She's worked her way up in the corporate world, earning every inch of her position. But for Jasmine, the path hasn't been easy. In fact, it's been a constant battle, one not just against the expectations of others, but against the system itself. The system that tells her she's not enough, that despite her qualifications, her hard work, and her passion, her place in this world isn't what she deserves. Jasmine came from humble beginnings. She knew that the only way to make a difference was through hard work. It wasn't enough to just be good at her job, she had to be exceptional. Every meeting, every task, every project, she had to prove herself again and again. And she did. She rose from an entry-level position to a senior management role, showing her colleagues and superiors that her talent wasn't something they could ignore. But not everyone was impressed, especially not Richard, the CEO. To Richard, Jasmine was just another employee, another person to push aside when he didn't feel like dealing with them. Richard, a middle-aged man, dressed in expensive suits and carrying himself with the air of authority, saw Jasmine not as a colleague, but as a problem, someone who didn't fit into the neat little box of what he thought people like her should be doing. It wasn't just the subtle dismissals, the ignoring of her opinions. No, Richard made sure everyone in the room knew what he thought of Jasmine. He would interrupt her during meetings, cutting her off as she was in the middle of sharing her ideas. The sharp look on his face whenever she spoke, as if her voice wasn't worth listening to, as if she wasn't worth his time. The way his eyes narrowed when she made a point he didn't like, as if every word from her mouth was an inconvenience. And when he did let her speak, it was with a sneer on his face, making passive-aggressive comments disguised as helpful suggestions. He would pat her on the back in the most condescending way, making her feel small, belittled, like a child who didn't know any better. And when she spoke out in meetings, offering her ideas or suggestions, Richard's dismissive attitude would come flooding in, as if her input didn't matter. There were those quiet, subtle moments too, the ones that hurt the most. The way he made sure she was the last to be included in important discussions, the way her work was always questioned more than anyone else's. The way her achievements were overshadowed by the actions of others who didn't work as hard, but somehow got the recognition she had long earned. It was like being invisible, only visible enough for him to tear her down. The worst part, Jasmine could never quite figure out why. She wasn't just another employee, she was someone who had worked for everything she had, someone who had poured herself into this company. She had made sacrifices, worked long nights, and given more than most. And yet, to Richard, she was nothing more than a nuisance, a reminder of something he didn't want to see. Her presence, her very existence, irritated him. It was the microaggressions that cut the deepest. Richard didn't even have the decency to hide his disdain. He'd make snide remarks about her background, about her style, the way she dressed, as if those things mattered more than her contributions. He'd mock her in front of her peers, making jokes about her family, her upbringing, as if it was a punchline. Jasmine would smile through it, pretending it didn't hurt. But it did. It hurt in ways words couldn't fully explain. And yet Jasmine held her head high. Every day she went into work, ready to face the storm that was Richard. She told herself that she wasn't going to let him break her. She wasn't going to let him define who she was or how far she could go. But deep down, the exhaustion of it all was wearing on her. The weight of the daily mistreatment, the endless effort to prove her worth, it was beginning to take its toll. There were days when Jasmine wondered if it was worth it. Should she leave? Should she fight back? But every time she considered giving up, she remembered why she started. She remembered how far she had come, how much she had already overcome. Jasmine was determined to succeed, not for Richard, not for anyone else, but for herself. She knew what she was capable of, even if Richard never would. But with every slight, every moment of disrespect, Richard's grip on Jasmine's life tightened. It was clear he thought she wasn't good enough, that she didn't belong at the table with the rest of the leadership team. His condescension, his lack of respect, it all built up until one fateful day, Jasmine was faced with the most humiliating moment of her career. It was during an all-staff meeting, a presentation meant to show the company's future plans. Jasmine had poured her heart into the project, staying up late to make sure everything was perfect. She was ready. But Richard, as always, didn't give her a chance to shine. Instead, he interrupted her mid-presentation, belittling her in front of everyone, questioning her every move. It was the final straw. The moment Jasmine had feared, the moment when all of Richard's treatment would reach its peak. But in that moment of humiliation, something shifted. Jasmine didn't bow her head, didn't shrink away as she had done so many times before. She stood tall, the hurt in her eyes masked by a calm resolve. She knew that this moment wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something much bigger. Jasmine's daily routine isn't easy. She shows up on time every morning, greeting her colleagues with a smile, trying to make the best of each day. She doesn't complain. She doesn't make excuses. But as she walks through the office doors, she can feel it. The subtle glances, the whispers that stop when she walks by. It's not just her imagination, it's the way people look at her. The way they talk about her when they think she can't hear. It's as if she's invisible to most of them, except for Richard. Jasmine walking down a hallway, her colleagues talking in hushed tones as she passes by. She keeps her head up, but it's clear she's aware of the isolation. It's like this every day. She's worked harder than most, staying late, going above and beyond, doing things she doesn't even have to do. But every success, every small win she gets feels hollow because it's always overshadowed by Richard's treatment. The praise others receive for their mediocre ideas, the way her own efforts go unnoticed. Richard in a meeting with the team, smiling as he praises another colleague for their suggestion. Jasmine's suggestion, given just moments before, is dismissed without a second thought. Jasmine's ideas, ignored. Every time she speaks up, it's like her voice is nothing more than background noise. Her promotions? Stalled? Despite everything she's done, Richard finds ways to block her, to keep her from moving forward. It's not just that he doesn't see her worth, it's that he's actively making sure others don't either. Close-up of Jasmine's face as she watches Richard praise someone else. Her expression shows a mix of frustration and determination. And Richard, well, he has no problem letting everyone know who's in charge. He loves the power he holds and he uses it to keep her in her place. To him, she's just another employee, someone to be controlled, someone to be put in her place. He doesn't care about her potential. All he cares about is maintaining control. But Jasmine, she refuses to back down. Jasmine sitting alone at her desk, staring at the screen. She looks drained, but there's something in her eyes, a quiet determination. It's draining. Every day feels like a battle, a fight against an invisible enemy. It's exhausting, emotionally and mentally. She questions herself, wondering why she's still putting up with this. But in the midst of it all, Jasmine holds on to something. Her purpose. She knows what she's capable of, even when it seems like the world is telling her she's not enough. And that quiet strength is what keeps her going, what keeps her pushing through the pain. Visual, Jasmine standing in front of a mirror in a quiet moment before work. She takes a deep breath, gathering herself for the day ahead. There's a flicker of doubt in her eyes, but it quickly fades as she steadies her breath. Every morning is a reminder of what she's up against, but also of why she keeps going. She knows her worth. She knows her potential. But little does she know, the battle she's fighting right now isn't just about surviving the day-to-day. It's about discovering something far bigger than she's ever realized, her greatest strength. Jasmine walking back into the office, her posture a little taller, her expression a little more focused as she heads toward her desk. She's about to face something that will test her in ways she never expected. The weight of Richard's words, the isolation, the constant struggle, it's all leading to something that will change everything. How would you stay motivated when your hard work is constantly overlooked? Drop a comment with your thoughts. The company's conference room, the atmosphere tense. Richard stands at the head of the table, looking over his notes as the team waits for his announcement. The clock ticks loudly in the background, signaling the build-up to a moment everyone knows is coming. Narrator voiceover: one day Richard goes too far. The day that Jasmine has dreaded. A company-wide presentation, one where she's worked tirelessly to present her ideas, her vision for the future of the company. She's ready, she's confident, but once again, her hard work is ignored. Richard, standing at the front, addressing the team. His voice is dismissive as he gestures to Jasmine's proposal. Richard announces a major client pitch, one Jasmine had been preparing for. Her idea was solid. She had all the data, the strategy, everything in place. But instead of recognizing her efforts, Richard without hesitation passes her over. He mocks her work, laughs it off, belittles her ideas as if they were nothing more than an afterthought. Cut to Jasmine's face, hurt, but masked with a calm exterior. Her eyes show a flicker of disbelief. The room is dead silent, the weight of Richard's words hanging heavily in the air. The room goes quiet. Jasmine's heart sinks, her thoughts racing, but she refuses to show weakness. Richard's words sting like a slap, each one a reminder of every insult she's endured. The years of hard work, the late nights, the constant push to prove herself, all reduced to nothing in an instant. The humiliation is unbearable. In that moment, Jasmine feels it all, every moment of disrespect, every word of dismissal, every time she was overlooked, all coming crashing down. She's been fighting for so long, but now she feels something break inside. It's not just her pride that's hurt, it's her soul. And yet she stands tall, her head held high. It's the last straw. No more tolerating this, no more playing by Richard's rules. But Jasmine doesn't walk out in defeat, she walks toward something much bigger. A realization that she's been fighting for the wrong thing. She's been fighting for respect in a place that never saw her as more than just an employee. It's time to stop fighting for their approval. In this moment of humiliation, Jasmine doesn't fall apart. She's not broken. Instead, she finds strength in her vulnerability, the kind of strength that only comes when you've been pushed to your limits and decide you're done. Done with being underestimated. Done with being silenced. Have you ever been humiliated in front of others? How did you handle it? Let's talk about it in the comments. The company's conference room, the atmosphere tense. Richard stands at the head of the table, looking over his notes as the team waits for his announcement. The clock ticks loudly in the background, signaling the build-up to a moment everyone knows is coming. One day, Richard goes too far. The day Jasmine has dreaded. It's the day of a company-wide presentation, a moment she's been working tirelessly toward. She's poured herself into this pitch, researched every detail, crafted every word. Her vision is clear, and her confidence is unshakable. But just as she steps forward, ready to present her ideas, everything changes. Richard announces a major client pitch, one Jasmine had been preparing for. Her idea was solid. She had the data, the strategy, everything perfectly aligned. Yet, instead of recognizing her hard work, Richard passes her over. Without hesitation, without even a glance at the hours of effort she's put in, he mocks her work. He laughs it off. He belittles her ideas as if they were nothing more than an afterthought. The room falls deathly quiet. Jasmine's heart sinks in that instant, her thoughts racing, her stomach turning. She feels the sting of every moment she's been dismissed, every hard-won victory overshadowed, every time Richard has chipped away at her confidence. But in that moment, she refuses to let him see how deeply it cuts. She's not going to break, not in front of them. But inside, it's different. In that silence, she feels it all, the weight of every insult, every rejection. The years of effort, the late nights, the sacrifices, all reduced to nothing in a matter of seconds. It's like a punch to the gut. But Jasmine doesn't crumble. She stands tall, her gaze unwavering, refusing to let the humiliation seep into her soul. This is the last straw. Jasmine is done tolerating this, done playing by Richard's rules. She won't fight for their approval anymore. This time she's walking out, but not in defeat. She's walking towards something much bigger than their petty games. She's about to realize that the respect she's been chasing isn't something she can earn from them, it's something she already has within herself. In that moment of humiliation, Jasmine doesn't break. She doesn't fall apart. Instead, she finds strength in her vulnerability, the kind of strength that only comes when you've been pushed to your absolute limits and finally decide you're done. Done with being underestimated, done with being silenced. Jasmine isn't just walking away from the meeting, she's walking away from a life where she's been invisible, from a future that wasn't hers to define. She's walking toward a life where she decides what happens next. Have you ever been humiliated in front of others? How did you handle it? Let's talk about it in the comments. Jasmine's revelation sends shockwaves through the company. The colleagues who once overlooked her, who saw her as just another employee to be ignored, are now looking at her with newfound respect. She's no longer just the woman they brushed aside. She's the woman who owns everything they've worked for. The woman who has always been in control, If only they had known it. I've worked hard to get here. Every late night, every challenge, every rejection, it's all led me to this moment. And from this day forward, things will change. No one, no matter their title or position, should ever be treated the way I was. No one deserves to feel like their worth is up for debate. From now on, respect, integrity, and fairness will guide everything we do. And that starts with me. I will no longer let anyone be undervalued. Jasmine's strength, grace, and resolve have not only freed her from Richard's grip, they've freed the entire company from the toxic leadership that had plagued it for so long. In this moment, Jasmine isn't just reclaiming her own power. She's setting the tone for a new chapter, one where everyone, no matter their role, will be treated with dignity and respect. Jasmine's actions didn't just shake the foundations of her company, they were a reminder that no matter the obstacles, no matter the attempts to silence you, your worth can never be truly hidden. It can only be ignored for so long, and when the time comes when you finally stand up and say, "Enough," everything changes. What's the biggest lesson you learned from Jasmine's journey? Let's talk about it in the comments. Jasmine's story is a reminder that true strength doesn't come from the world around you. It comes from within. It's about knowing your worth, recognizing the value you bring to every room you enter, and standing up for yourself when the world tries to knock you down. Jasmine didn't wait for permission to succeed. She took what was rightfully hers, and in doing so, she showed us all that no amount of discrimination, no matter how deeply rooted, can define your future. She didn't just fight for respect. She fought for a future she had earned on her terms. Every step she took, every challenge she faced, only made her stronger. And in the end, she triumphed not just over her boss, but over the forces that tried to hold her back for far too long. If you were inspired by Jasmine's story, make sure to like this video, comment below with your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload.